representation, I looked to the previous study of Muraski and Shippen in 1999. Their study focused on the president's strategical behavior in selecting a Supreme Court nominee. Previously, scholars had only looked at the Senate's role and behavior because they treated the president as a reflection of his own ideological preferences. However, Muraski and Shippen looked at the President, Senate, and Supreme Court's ideological preferences and how those conditioned the choice of the Supreme Court nominee. They developed 3 models in order to reflect how the Supreme Court and the Senate placed constraint on the president's choice. They used nominations from 1954 to 1994. In my replication, I will be backdating and expanding those nominations from 1937 to 2016, as well as changing the measures of the dependent variable and independent variables. The dependent variable in these models is the nominee's ideology N. The independent variables are the president's ideology P, Senate's median ideology S, the Supreme Court's ideology J, and the Senate's indifference point I subscript S, which will be explained in Hypothesis 2. Hypothesis 1 shows the unconstrained model. In this model, the president is unconstrained because when S is less than P and P is less than J, or the inversion of that, and P is less than S and S is less than J, or the inversion of that, at an equal distance, then P will have a significant effect on N. Here, P is unconstrained by S and J and can select a nominee that is at or close to his ideological preferences. However, in regime 2, the president is semi-constrained because when P is less than S and S is less than J, or the inversion of that, the Senate's indifference point will have a significant effect on N. Here, the president will have to choose a nominee at the Senate's indifference point in order to place the nominee's ideological preferences within equal to or close distance away from S as J is. And so the president will be semi-constrained. But in regime 3, when S is less than J and J is less than P, or the inversion of that, the president is fully constrained, and the court's median ideology point will have a significant effect on N. This is because the president will have to pick a nominee that is already at the court's median point in order to not only maximize his utility, but also avoid the risk of not maximizing the Senate's enough to the point where they would reject the nominee. Here, I ran a univariate analysis to place the nominations within each regime type. I then ran a bivariate analysis to see the significance of each independent variable on the nominee's ideological score in each regime type. In regime 1, the t-value was 2, which exceeds the 1.96 significance threshold, showing that presidents' ideologies do have a significant effect on nominees' ideology in regime 1. In regime 2, the t-score was a 3.68, showing that the Senate's indifference point does have a significant effect on the nominee's ideology in regime 2. And in regime 3, this t-value is a 4.47, showing that the court's median ideology point does have a significant effect on the nominee's ideology in regime 3. These findings suggest that presidents can and do strategically behave when selecting Supreme Court nominees given the constraints placed on them by the Senate and the Supreme Court, as Muraski and Shippen's findings found as well.